So Karen, what do we have there in the chat box? I'm sure we have a lot of questions.
There's a couple that are kind of related. They're asking, do they need to have a line of credit? And then other people are saying, what if I don't have a line of credit?
Okay, excellent question. Number one, you are not required to have a line of credit to be able to use our program. Now, if you do have a line of credit, that's also great. Maybe it's not even a home equity line of credit. Maybe it's a personal line of credit, or maybe it's a business line of credit, right? Those are great and they can be used effectively. In fact, our system was built and designed to work in conjunction with lines of credit. But as Christy referenced, it's not a requirement, which is huge. In fact, if you don't have a line of credit, or for whatever reason you can't qualify for a line of credit, we can actually use a high yield savings account and a checking account to facilitate the use of the system just the same. In fact, because interest rates have gone up a little bit in a positive way in terms of savings accounts, but that also makes interest rates on lines of credit more expensive, we're actually able to achieve very similar, sometimes, believe it or not, even better results. So if you have a line of credit, absolutely, we can integrate the use of the program to help maximize or put your line of credit on steroids, as Christy references, to be able to maximize the leverage and the use of your money or the bank's money using a line of credit. But if you don't have one or can't qualify for one, that is not a problem at all. We can actually get you set up and using the system without it.
There's several different people asking about kind of the general price range of it, and they're
Mm-hmm.
also wondering if they have to pay for it all at once.
Okay, that's a great question. Well, first, we have three different platforms. We have one for individuals that don't own a home, or they simply just don't have a mortgage. Maybe they have a car loan or a student loan or a personal loan, or maybe they have some credit card debt, right? That's our kind of our entry level platform. And then we've got one that's for individuals they do own a home and they can have unlimited debt. And believe me, when I say unlimited, we've seen millions of dollars of debt, but they're capped at 3 mortgages. And then we've got a little bit more advanced level of the program that is for investors, for real estate investors. And they could have up to 99 properties. So there's a pretty broad range there. But the two things I will tell you is number one, it's a one-time fee. You pay it, you're done, you have access to it forever. But it's generally only a small percentage of a formula based on how much debt you have, how much interest we can save you, and how quickly we can help you pay it off. But in most cases, honestly, it's probably not more than the equivalent of maybe a couple of mortgage payments, literally. So imagine being able to cover a cost for somewhere in between maybe one and maybe 2 or 3 mortgage payments at the most to save 30 mortgage payments or 50 or 150. In many cases, we're saving 60 to 65%, as much as 70 or 75% of the interest they would otherwise pay that they can now use to help pay down principal and get out of debt much more quickly. The follow-up to her question is it something that's required? You have to just cover that purchase cost one time. Not necessarily. If you have the readily available funds, mathematically, it probably is to your advantage to do so. But if you don't, and you simply have the available credit on a credit card or two, up to 3 credit cards, ironically, you could do that. But what if you say, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the available credit on my cards, but you have good credit? Well, there's third-party financing options we have. And last but not least, if you don't have the available money, and you don't have the available credit and you've got some bumps into your credit, well, guess what? We have a guaranteed internal financing option if none of those are available to you. We are absolutely committed to finding a way to help anybody that's in debt be able to use our program. And I'll add to that we can help anybody with debt, but not everybody with debt. And by that, I mean, it's math, it's not magic, which is how we're able to guarantee it. And we'll help you capture and redirect and leverage dollars much more efficiently, track spending, help you be better at budgeting, better financial steward of your money, maximize the use of that cash flow. But you literally could have as little as $1 of positive net discretionary dollars, and we're going to be able to help you achieve unbelievable results and help you stay on track. It's probably the biggest key. I have people all the time ask me, what's the secret sauce? How does this work? Tell me how this technology works. Well, what really makes the difference is the dashboard that Bill referenced, just like your GPS. Most people don't know that it's tied to a global network of 24 satellites that hover the Earth at 12,000 miles an hour, going 17,000 miles. We just know the technology helps to track all that stuff. Well, the dashboard is the big part, because anything you do, anything you buy, any change in your circumstance immediately recalculates that number. And now you're able to see your path forward, which is why we call it financial forecasting, giving the ability to plan, adjust, and adapt on the fly in real time with maximum proficiency.
Here's one. People they're asking about, their tax advisor tells them, hey, you got to have that mortgage for the tax advantage.
Oh my gosh. Folks, I'm sorry, but I love this one. I have a lot of friends that are accountants, okay? And hear me clearly. If you have to have a debt, i.e., you don't have the means to pay it off, you of course want the lowest rate you can get, and naturally you want to be able to have tax deductibility. But let me tell you the fallacy to this statement right here. Well, you see, you don't create a debt or maintain a debt for the sheer benefit of deductibility because it's not a credit, it's a deduction. And it works like this. Imagine if, now this is old, kid Sesame Street days or something, right? Well, if you give me $3, right, and I only give you $1 back, how many times you want to play? You see, because when you have debt, you've got to pay it, but you're only getting a credit for a third of it. So you're still losing $2 in that exchange. And maybe it was Bugs Bunny, right? $1 for you, 1, 2 for me. One for you, 1, 2, 3 for me. That's kind of how the banks work. So again, if you have to have a debt, you don't have the means and the circumstances to get out of debt more quickly or what have you. Yes, having the tax deduction is a benefit and having a lower note rate will help. But this is a completely different conversation. Remember the example in the analysis. If you were out of debt 10, 15, 20 years sooner, you don't care about that 30% tax deduction. You're now realizing you've got the other 2/3 of those dollars that you're able to redirect to save and accumulate for wealth and security and peace of mind for you and your family. So, that one always makes me chuckle just a little bit. You don't create a debt or maintain a debt for the sheer benefit of deductibility because you're still losing money in the exchange to have to service that debt.
You referenced it earlier. There's a couple people in different ways kind of saying, you know what, it sounds too good to be true. How can this be? Why haven't we ever heard of it before?
Well, folks, because it is counterintuitive to the bank's best interest for you to understand this stuff. And this is why I've been a little bit of a contrarian my whole life in the financial industry. When I learned the rule of 72 as a kid, as a teenager, and the time value of money and compound interest and all these sorts of things, we've been taught to look at things two-dimensionally. Remember The Wizard of Oz? We're all old enough to know that movie, okay? Because it's been around for a long time. They all think it's going to be the almighty Oz. And eventually that little dog goes over and pulls on that curtain and finds out what? It's just a little old man pulling levers. The system's been rigged against us for a long time, and we are going to change it. We create a system where the average person can now bank like a bank at the push of a button to put that kind of power, that kind of technology. You see, because what we've done is it's not bashing the banks, it's emulating the banks, right? The old imitation is the greatest form of flattery. We're taking these same proven systems and strategies that banks have been using for decades to their advantage and now incorporating them into the pro logic of the system to help the average person be able to benefit from those same strategies, those same hidden secrets that banks use essentially with this algorithm. So we hear it a lot, but as I said, it's good, it's true, and we can prove it. In fact, we guarantee it because it's math. It's not magic. But unfortunately, banks, and I'm not faulting them, but they're in the business to make money, a lot of it. But I happen to think that if we help a few 100,000 or even a few million people pay a little bit less interest, I'm pretty sure the banks are still going to be okay. But make no mistake, unfortunately, nobody is coming to save the average American. I don't care what your political perspective is. We've got to start making bigger changes and making more opportunities like this available to the average person because we have been kind of slighted in this process and the systems have been rigged against us for a very long time. So that is what we're so powerful about. That's why our credo is really to help buy back America one family at a time. Because even the word mortgage, for those of you that don't know this, right? Think of the first word, mort, like mortician, right? It's death grip or death pledge in Latin. Why? Because it's something that most people end up having their whole lives. And then they refinance down the road and they kick the can down the road again and again and again. Well, I'm not saying there's not an argument for refinancing, but there are three things that happen that are not genuinely in your best interest from a refinancing standpoint. Number one, 73% of all clients with 24 years or more, when they refinance, go back to 30 years. Well, ask yourself the question, is adding 4, 5, 6, 8 years to the length of your debt to your advantage or to the bank's advantage? I think we all know the answer to that question. Number two, it's not free. A lot of cost in refinancing. It might be 6, 8, who knows, $10,000, $12,000, depending on the size of the loan. Is increasing the size of your debt to your advantage or the bank's? Again, we all know the answer to that. But last but not least, this is the real kicker. You see, because these loans are intentionally front end loaded, and by the way, that's not by accident. There's a reason roughly the first 7 years is almost entirely interest, because the average person lives in their home 7.2 years. It's called the 7-year itch. It was a movie with Marilyn Monroe a long time ago. We biologically shift. So our average person moves every 6 to 8 years, right? They get divorced, they quit their job. And so physiologically, we tend to get that shift. Banks knew it, and they built those schedules around exploiting that fact. So the average person would pay as much interest as humanly possible during the entire period of time they held that loan. Well, isn't that nice? So again, the system has been rigged against us, and we're going to change it. So it's good, it's true, and we can prove it. And in 20 years and 80 some thousand clients at this point, we've got a pretty good track record, especially with helping people stay on track. And I think that's the other key. Remember the two top New Year's resolutions, fitness and finance? Let's talk about the fitness one for just a second. Joining a gym is a good start, but you know that most of the people that joined the gym January 1st weren't even still going there by the 22nd. After that first 3 weeks, crazy. But you see, if you join a gym and it happens to be conveniently located across the street, you're more likely to go. If you get your next door neighbor who's one of your best friends to be your accountability partner, you're more likely to go because you don't want to hear them give you grief. What if you got a pedometer to track your steps, heart rate monitor, right? You got a calorie counter, and you hired a personal trainer. Now, do you think you'd be more likely to go? Absolutely. Would you be more likely to work out? For sure. And working out works. You see, the diet that works is the one you stick with. And we've made this so convenient that the average person now has effectively the benefit of having virtual financial coaching using this financial GPS system that they can access 24/7, 365 to tell them exactly where they are, where they're going, the impact of what they've done or what they're planning to do. Folks, there's a reason we're passionate about this. We've watched it happen. We've seen it work for thousands and thousands of people, and that is why we can guarantee it. So a lot of things in life sound too good to be true, but they don't guarantee them. And that's why, because it's math, it's not magic.